Hey up, Duck. I've been covering the Championship now for 7 years, and I can quite easily say, without a shadow of a doubt, the Spygate saga between Southampton and Middlesbrough is the maddest story that I've covered in that time. I literally did a video on it last week, and since then, so many new things have come out. This story is moving so quickly that by the time this video goes out, everything may have changed once again. But what I can also safely say is, I absolutely love it. I cannot get enough of everything that is going on here. Every time I go on Twitter, something new has happened. It's actually made me enjoy Twitter once again, which is saying something because that place is a cesspit now. But I'm just consuming content. Everything that comes in, I'm just eating it all up. I love this saga. It's carnage, and I have no idea what's happening next, and it's playing havoc with my plans for going to the playoff final next weekend. But every twist and turn of this, I absolutely love. So I thought this video here today would be a chance for us to catch up, have a discussion about what's happened and what is crucially going to happen next. What is going to be the outcome of this entire thing? Because it's becoming pretty clear in my mind where this is heading, but let's have a discussion about it and see what we all think. Before we get into it, please make sure you like this video and subscribe for more Championship related content like this. So let's get into it. Where do we start then? Oh, I don't know. How about the playoff semi-finals? That feels like a lifetime ago now. It was on Tuesday. Wasn't that long ago at all. But the game happened. People forget there's actual football to be happening here. But the game happened on Tuesday, and in fairness, Southampton deserved it. In the second half and extra time, they were the better team. And the goal was a bit fortunate in the end, which went on to win it. But you've got to say Southampton were the better side in that second leg overall. Maybe not so much in the first leg, but the second leg is ultimately what decided it. So that game happened. And we knew at the time that it was questionable whether Southampton would actually be getting to the final based off everything that has happened. We'll get onto more of that in a sec. The big... the most entertaining part, really, of the entire thing is what happened afterwards when Tonda Eckert was asked questions by the media.
Are you a cheat?
Thank you very much, Captain. Let's show some respect. Let's show some respect. That's all we ask. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well done.
So this is the second time Tonda Eckert has walked out of a press conference after being asked questions about Spygate. That question there was asked by Dom Shaw, who works for the Northern Echo, which is the local newspaper in Middlesbrough. And you know what? Fair play to you, Dom. I applaud this kind of thing. Not only has that question rattled Tonda Eckert clearly, it's also rattled the Southampton media team. They're the ones there who have been saying, show some respect. Didn't seem like you showed respect for Middlesbrough when it came to spying on them, though. What I would say about Tonda Eckert is his response has been pretty embarrassing, but it's been made embarrassing by Southampton's media team, who are quite clearly telling him, don't say anything. If you get asked anything about the spying, just no comment, everything. And that tactic is not working brilliantly. I know they can't do much because of legal proceedings and what have you, but they're going to get asked questions again and again, but walking out of 2 press conferences now about this is, I don't think it's a good look. But the other thing about Tonda Eckert is this man could not look more guilty. Like, Tonda, you really need to work on your poker face, because flipping heck, that man may as well have guilty written on his forehead, because he's not helping himself here at all. Should make it clear, we don't know for sure whether Tonda Eckert is the person who instigated the whole Spygate thing and told the intern to go to Middlesbrough's training ground, but he's not helping himself with his general demeanour when it comes to these press conferences. But speaking of the spy, that brings me nicely on to This photo. This photo right here is, oh my God, it is perfect. It is perfect. When I saw this photo come out on Wednesday, I burst out laughing. I could not believe how tin pot this looks. We were told it was high-tech equipment which was being used here, but no, it's just a guy on his phone. But he's not even trying. Look at him. He's next to a tree. He's not even hiding behind the tree. He's next to the tree. Be subtle about it, mate. You're here trying to be subtle about spying on another team. But no, you're stood next to a tree with your phone like this. It's so obvious what you are doing. I am so grateful to the person who took this photo. I don't know whether it was a official Middlesbrough photographer or someone from the media team. Whoever it is, you have made such a brilliant decision in taking this photo, because I had no idea what we were expecting when I heard these reports come out. This just... it makes the whole thing look so tin pot. And to kind of tie in with this photo, you may have seen the brilliant report by Sky Sports' Keith Downey, where he has gone to this tree and he has said, this is where the spy stood. Over here is where the Middlesbrough media team were, who spotted the man. And then it shows where the spy went afterwards, which was to a golf club just down the road, literally 100 yards away from the from the training ground, where they then ran off after being confronted by the media team. But this just paints such a vivid picture of what this entire thing is like. But there are a few things I would say about this photo and that report. Firstly, it shows that where the Southampton spy is stood is a public road. It's going to the golf club, which, as I say, is 100 yards away. So it just shows that anyone could do this. You know, you don't have to... It's not like it's heavily guarded Middlesbrough's training ground. Anyone who was at the golf club that day could sit there and watch Middlesbrough's training sessions. But it also shows how far away the spy was from where Middlesbrough will be training. This is an image of what it would look like from whereabouts the spy would have stood. He's quite far away from the training ground, and I've got an iPhone, right? It's an iPhone 14, I think. It's not one of the newest, but it's fairly new. As soon as I zoom in, you can barely see anything past a certain point. It all just becomes pixelated. Now, maybe that's not the case on newer iPhones. I don't know, I haven't used them. But unless they're really good when it comes to zooming in, I'm not sure how much the Southampton spy would have got from filming this on his phone. Now, it's got to be said, the reports are that he was talking over the top of it, so that kind of helps things, and he can say, oh, it's Aidan Morris now on the ball and this is what he's doing or whatever. But it does make it all look like, was it really worth it? And I have seen a lot of people speculate over the past week of, when there's been talk about Southampton being kicked out of the playoffs, there's been talk of people saying, oh, are they actually going to get that much from this? It feels a bit harsh to kick them out of the playoffs for something where they would be gaining a minimal advantage. And maybe that's the case, but I don't share that viewpoint, because Southampton have clearly thought it was worth sending this intern 300 miles away for this footage. That's a lot of effort to go to if it was just a minimal advantage. So they clearly think it was worth it. And it is also worth saying that Middlesbrough were apparently practicing penalties that day. So if it did go to a penalty shootout, they would have had a huge advantage, because the spy would have known what favoured ways the kick takers like to go. But anyway, that's beside the point. It's not about how much of an advantage Southampton would have got from this. It's more the principle of it. The rules state you cannot go to another club's training ground and secretly watch their training sessions. That is cheating if you break that rule. that is what Southampton have done. And if the EFL don't punish them for that, not only does that open the door for more spying further down the road and potentially more advanced ways of doing it, but it also opens the door for potentially even worse rule breaking, which, I mean, you open up a can of worms there with what that could possibly entail, which is why it doesn't really matter how much of an advantage Southampton have got. It's more about the complete and blatant disregard of the rules shown by Southampton in this instance. We'll get on to what I think is the probable outcome of the entire scandal very shortly, but a few other notable details to mention here include that the supposed spy has been named by the Daily Mail as Will Salt, a intern first team analyst at Southampton, supposedly very highly regarded by Tonda Eckert. It was revealed that he also went and used his bank card to buy a coffee at the golf course right next to Middlesbrough's training ground. That just so happens to be owned by the Middlesbrough owner, Steve Gibson. So great work in not leaving a paper trail, Will. The talk is that that transaction could be used to figure out whether Will Salt had been sent to other training grounds in the division, but we'll only find out that in due course. The bottom line here is that could end up being the most costly coffee purchase in the history of man. Another thing to mention is that Middlesbrough are reportedly going to be back in training on Monday to prepare for the eventuality that Southampton get kicked out of the playoff final and they replace them, which is a pretty good indicator that they believe that is going to happen. But what is probably the biggest indicator yet that that is going to happen is the statement which was released by the EFL on Thursday. The exact words that they used: supporters should be aware that the outcome of the disciplinary proceedings may yet result in changes to the fixture. Which I'm taking as, if the EFL are saying that, then they are clearly going for that as the outcome if Southampton are found guilty of spying. Before, it was always this maybe could be happening. But now that looks like it is the most likely outcome in my mind. Also, got to be mentioned, they have discussed the possibility of pushing the actual final back after it's meant to be happening next Saturday, but that may be postponed to a later date, which just shows how much of a farce this all is. So what is going to be the actual outcome of the Spygate scandal? Well, based off all the evidence which I've taken in over the past week, I have no insider knowledge here, I'll make that very clear, but based off everything that I've read, I think Middlesbrough are going to be facing Hull in the final. Everything to me seems to be pointing towards Southampton getting kicked out of the playoff final. Now, whether that actually happens or not may come down to whether Southampton have been doing this prior to the playoff semi-finals. There's been a lot of chatter over whether Southampton have been doing this to other clubs. There have been suspicions raised in various reports that other clubs seem to think that is the case. The Telegraph, I'll read what they put out this past week. Middlesbrough are thought to have evidence that suggests last week was not an isolated incident. This includes a statement from a whistleblower at Southampton who has alleged that spying on opposition teams was a regular occurrence this season. And if that is the case, then Southampton haven't really got a leg to stand on. It seems like the defence from Southampton, based off everything that I've read, is that they are claiming that this is an intern who went out of his way to try and impress the club. I find that very hard to believe. I just don't see how that would be the case, that this intern went rogue and decided to do all this. But even if that was the case, then what would happen with this footage? He went out there and just did it and then didn't show anyone the footage. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I don't see how Southampton are going to get out of this. And so with all that in mind, I think Southampton are going to get kicked out of the playoff final. And if that is the case, I would say, you know what, EFL, fair play. Because I've seen a lot of people cast doubts over whether the EFL would actually have the balls to do this, if we're being frank. And I do think that is where this is heading. And it's got to be kept in mind with the EFL. They've been put in such a tricky position because we're at the stage of the season now where a points deduction is completely pointless. You may say a points deduction next season, but that would only be able to be applied if Southampton don't go up, because the EFL can't apply sanctions in the Premier League. So what other choice do the EFL have? They have got to make an example of Southampton. A fine doesn't cut it. If you do go with just a fine, then a club next year in the playoffs may look at it and go, well, I think we're happy to risk a fine. It only comes in if we get caught. And the worst case scenario is we get a fine. That is small change compared to what we would be getting if we get to the Premier League. So that's why the EFL have to be strong here and show Southampton that this is a disgrace, because they cannot let this happen again. They simply cannot risk anything like this happening again, because, as I alluded to earlier, it opens up the door for other forms of cheating further down the line. The EFL have to be strong here, and I think that is where this is going to end up. The final thing I'll end with is that, yes, this is a farce. It is not a farce because of the EFL. The EFL need time to make sure all the evidence is gathered, they can properly analyse it, and then make a decision. It's not their fault, it's the fault of Southampton doing this in the first place. But you have got to have a lot of sympathy here for the people who are being forgotten in this entire scandal. And that is the supporters of Southampton, Middlesbrough and Hull. And yes, I am including Southampton in that because I have seen a lot of Southampton fans online. I've even spoken to a few in the past few days. And I haven't seen any Southampton fan who is not embarrassed or disgusted by what their club has done. Every single Southampton fan has said that what their club has done is wrong, and whatever happens, they will fully deserve any punishment that comes their way. But also for Southampton fans is the uncertainty of whether they are actually going to be in a playoff final in a week's time, because they need to sort things out like hotels, train tickets, the actual tickets for the match. Is that actually going to be happening now? Is it even going to be happening next week? We don't know. I know Southampton to London isn't very far, but it's still a headache nonetheless for Southampton fans. But it's an even bigger headache for Middlesbrough fans. Southampton London isn't far. Middlesbrough to London is. That is an absolute trek for all those Borough fans who may be about to be watching their club have the biggest game of the past, ever since they were in the playoff final in 2015. They don't know whether that is going to be happening, first of all, but they've also got to book things like train tickets, hotels, the actual match tickets. And it's going to be expensive for them getting that train down from Middlesbrough to London. And they're more inclined to get a hotel than Southampton fans are because it's so far. So they're being forgotten about in all this. And Hull fans are as well, to a lesser extent than the other two. But they all thought that the final was definitely going to be happening next Saturday, one way or another. That may not be happening now. So there's got to be a lot of sympathy from football fans as a whole towards these three fan bases here. And yes, that includes Southampton because they haven't done anything wrong here. They know their club are in the wrong and they are being treated pretty poorly. But there we go, ladies and gents. This is why Spygate is an absolute nightmare. I've rambled for a lot of this video. I hope you still enjoyed it nonetheless. And if that is the case, then leave a comment down below as to what you think should happen next. Do you think Southampton being kicked out of the playoffs is fair, or do you think there should be another sanction involved? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you like and subscribe for more championship related content just like this. I've been Ryan Dilks. A big thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.